Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to take you through my feeding routine and what I feed and why I feed it. So yeah, in today's video I'm going to go through what I feed my fish. It's quite important to get right what you're feeding your fish, whether it be like a flake or a pellet or frozen foods or live foods. I do feed quite a selection of different foods for different fish. So what I'll do, I'll take you through what fish I, what food I feed the fish, and why I feed it. So here are some of the foods. Well, most of the foods that I feed to my fish. As I say, there's quite a selection here. So what I'll do, I'll go through them one by one of what I feed and why I feed it. The first thing I'm going to mention is a good flake food. This is the go-to kind of food that people feed the fish. It's nice and simple. Open the pot and drop it in all over your foot as well. As I say, it's a basic sort of food. This particular one I like because it's insect based, it's full of protein, and it's good for the fish, especially while they're young. It really does promote good healthy growth, so this is a good one to go for. Now I've always gone on the principle of, this is just me, other people say different. The size of a fish's stomach is roughly the same size of their eye, because the biggest problem and the biggest mistake people do is putting too much in. Now, the thing when you start putting too much food in is it starts affecting the water quality. So what you want to do is little and often. Otherwise, they say too much food will start causing spikes in the water with ammonias and nitrates and nitrites, because it's abundant food in the water that's breaking down, and yeah, it's just not good for the fish. So little and often, small pinch, little and often. Recommend, well, I feed once in the morning and once at night. I find that more than ample enough as well, especially with how much livestock I've got at the moment. They don't need a great deal. So yeah, good flake food, go to, highly recommend it. So my next to go to food is frozen foods. Reason I like frozen foods is same again, a bit like the flake really, full of protein. So especially when if you're breeding and things like that, it gives them a good bulk up before they start breeding. It fills them full of energy, plenty of proteins in there. Now with frozen food, I wouldn't feed it every day unless it's a part of their natural diet. So for example, I've got puffer fish. Their main source of food is insect larvae, invertebrates like snails and things like that. So it is a part of their natural diet. Now other fish, like your community fish, not so much. Yes, they do eat insect larvae and stuff like that, but if you feed too much, you'll start getting stuff like bloat. So basically where the fish just blow up, or same again, because they won't eat it all, they'll start having an impact on the water as well. So same again, you're going to start getting nitrates, ammonias and nitrites just going crazy down to the waste that's being left in the tank. But on the opposite side as well, obviously the more you feed, the more the fish or give off waste. So therefore, same again, water quality and things like that. So it's just finding the right balance. But my go-to ones are bloodworms and brine shrimp. So they are a bit more trickier to feed. Well, I wouldn't say trickier, but a bit more time consuming to feed. You can just drop them in, but I do recommend grabbing a bit of clean cup, a bit of your tank water, and just pouring it out in there. It just saves it sitting on the bottom, and the fish will be like, "What's this?" It's not natural for them having an ice cube dropped on their head. So yeah, pour it out first, but it is a very good go-to one again. So my next go-to food is a pellet. Pellet foods are really good. This particular one is a micro pellet. See if I can get it out to show you. So it is a very small micro pellet. Good for smaller fish or fry that slightly larger and won't take brine shrimp anymore. Same again, this particular one is a semi-floating one. Now, there's a bit of mixture out there with pellets, well, foods in general, with foods that float on the surface. You'll find with stuff like flake foods and things like that, they will mainly just float on the surface. Once they become saturated with water, they'll start to sink. Now, with pellets, they tend to float a lot longer than your flake foods. So the main impact this has is not so much with tropical fish. The main impact is with your cold waters, like your fancy goldfish, for example. So with fancy goldfish, just using that as an example, they like to gulp their food, whether it be under the water or on the surface of the water. Now, the only downside with that is when they're gorging on the food on the surface of the water, they ingest air as well at the same time, which causes a very common problem that they get, which is called swim bladder. So basically, within the body, they've got a little organ called a swim bladder. And what this does is the buoyancy of the fish. They use that organ to control the depth in the water that they do. All fish have them pretty much. It's just a natural organ they've got. Now with goldfish, because they ingest all this food off the surface of the water, they ingest the air as well. And this air gets trapped behind their swim bladder, which makes them lose buoyancy. So they are technically all right, but they just float around the water and can't control themselves because they have got air trapped in the body basically. It's a bit like us if we go swimming, take a big breath of air, that's it, we don't sink, we just flop on top of water. Pretty much same principle. There is methods that sometimes work but not always work. I'll go more in depth with that. That's kind of irrelevant to what we're talking about today. But as I say, I do like a good sinking pellet. This one's semi-sinking, so it sinks not as quick as a sinking pellet, but it stays a bit more buoyant in the water. Now with a sinking pellet, it drops straight down for the bottom feeders and stuff like that. But if you've got mid feeders, something like a semi-floating pellet is brilliant. And it is more controllable than obviously your frozens and your flake. So with that being said, the next sort of food I feed is a wafer. So these are mini wafers. You can get a lot larger ones if you've got like big plecos or catfish and things like that. These ones, basically a mini wafer, ideal for your smaller catfish, like your bristle nose. Unless you've got adult bristle nose, then you go away with the larger wafers. I feed these to the snails that I have got. They're also good for things like loaches, certain shrimps as well. I probably eat them. But yeah, with these ones, these don't float. These will, as soon as you put them in the water, drop straight down to the bottom. So very good for target feeding bottom feeders. So like Corydoras, bristlenose, anything that's bottom dwelling that needs algae and stuff. Now some of them, let me check on this one because I don't believe it does. It doesn't, this one. So some of these, they do come supplemented with wood fibre in there as well. So things like catfish, bristlenose catfish, plecostomas, or your plex, they do need a source of wood fibre in their diet as well. Helps them digesting. That's why if you're having like your catfish and your, like your plex and that, we always, well, not me, well, yes, me personally, but I'll always recommend like some sort of wood in there. I'm not talking MDF or a sheet of ply or anything like that. I'm talking natural woods like bogwoods, rosewood, mapani wood, anything, mangrove wood, stuff like that. Something that they can rasp onto, basically helps them digest the foods that they are eating. So yeah, bottom dwelling fish, definitely recommend some wafers. In staying with dry foods and stuff like that, all the fry that I get, I start them off on very, very fine fish food. This one is, I'll show you, it's just like dust. You can't even see it on the camera, it's that fine. Let's see if I can get you a... There we are. So this is very, very fine food. This is what I'll start my fry off on. So when fry hatch, if they're egg dwellers, if they're the parents of egg layers, then they will live off the yolk sac for the first day or two, depending obviously the size of them. Then I've been looking to give them something like first fry. Full of vitamins and stuff like that. Now there is another method that I haven't tried yet, but I am looking to try, is using egg yolks. Normal boiled, like you're having a boiled egg, take the yolk out, break a bit off and mix it up in a bit of tank water and pipette that into the water. It's meant to be really good. Not tried it, but it probably will be something that I do on this channel to try. But until then, I'll always go for something like this. And lastly, similar to like your frozen foods, this is Artemia or baby brine shrimp. In here there is the eggs and salt. So brine shrimp, it's in the name, live in brine water, which is very salty water. When these fish hatch, they are molluscule, and I mean molluscule. Very hard to see, but they are perfect for fry again. So after feeding the dry food for a little bit, when they get a little bit bigger, I'll start feeding them on this stuff. Full of fats and proteins for them again. Really gives them that boost, which I highly recommend to get a good growth going on your fry. So that is pretty much all the foods that I feed in my fish room. What I'm going to do is set the camera up and take you through feeding a few of my fish.